Okay, I'm going to show you how to make the shark out of my book. Okay, and I am going to be using my 1/2 inch gauge 24 peg loom, but you can use any 24 peg loom you want. You'll need a gray yarn and you'll need a white yarn. Okay, and so here is how this is going to start. So it says you're going to be starting with your body, and you're going to be working circularly with the white yarn for 24 pegs, and you're going to do a Kitchener cast on. All right, so if you are not familiar with a Kitchener cast on, this is classified as an advanced pattern because of the Kitchener cast on. And so if you've made socks, this will be easier. Most people like the Kitchener cast on. Okay, so we need to find our halfway point, which is in here. Okay, so here is how this goes if you have not done this before. All right, so it goes front to back, 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 front to back. Okay, you're going to do that all the way over. Make sure you don't skip a peg. Okay. Okay, so you have done your weave, and here comes the finalization of the cast on. Okay, so what you have to do is knit your way over. Okay, and you're just going to knit your way around, and this solidifies the cast on. Okay. And I'll be honest, the beginning of this pattern is more difficult, but once you get past that, I personally think it gets a little easier. So this is the hardest part, and it'll be tightening it up, which is the next hardest part. Okay? So Kitchener cast on, and then it says row 1 is to knit. Okay. Alright. So at this point we want to knit our way around. Alright, and then we'll be ready to start row 2, which out the gate is craziness, right? And it's entirely up to you how you want to do a short row. If you want to do a wrap and turn, or if you want to do a German short row, it's entirely up to you if you're used to the different short row methods, okay? So you can do it whatever way you want, but I wrote it for a wrap and turn method, okay? But you are more than welcome to do whatever wrap and turn you prefer. Okay? So when I say wrap and turn, you're doing whatever short row method. German short row, whatever. That's what you're working on. Okay. So row 2, it says knit 11, wrap and turn. Alright? So you're going to knit 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Alright, knit at 11. Going to wrap and turn. And it says to knit 10 and wrap and turn. So we're going to knit 10 and go 1, 2, 3, and then wrap and turn. Okay, then it says to knit 9 wrap and turn, knit 8 wrap and turn, knit 7 wrap and turn, knit 6 wrap and turn, knit 5 wrap and turn, knit 4 wrap and turn, knit 3 wrap and turn, knit 2 wrap and turn, knit 1 wrap and turn, knit 1. Alright, so what you're going to have is a whole bunch of wrap and turns, and when you come back to your video, you should have one single stitch between a whole bunch of wrap and turns. What we're doing is creating the point on the nose. Okay, so there's our next wrap and turn. I'll show you one more where you knit your way over to just before the last wrap and turn, and then you wrap and turn. Okay, so once I show you this next one, I'm going to leave it to you to keep going until you're down to a single stitch that's in between a whole bunch of wrap and turns. Okay, so there's my wrap and turn. So you have 2 wrap and turns here, 2 wrap and turns here. So what you want to do is pause the video, knit over wrap and turn, knit over wrap and turn, knit over wrap. You should have a single stitch that has a whole bunch of wrap and turns on the side. Alright, let's go ahead and pause the video, get that much done, and when we come back, we should be ready to change over to our gray color. Okay, so you see you have one single, and then wrap and turn, wrap and turn, wrap and turn, wrap and turn, wrap and turn. And then wrap and turn, wrap and turn, wrap and turn, wrap and turn, wrap and turn. Alright, single stitch between a whole bunch of wrap and turns. Alright, and there's nothing going on the other side. Okay, now what it says too is to change color to gray. Alright, so ready to change our color to gray. Now I am going to do a magic knot. I personally like this. I'm not one who likes a Russian join. It may be the better, but this is my preference. Okay, so I'm going to do a half knot. And I'm going to go in and do another half knot. And I'm going to try to pull it as far down to the base as I possibly can. You see. Then I'm just going to tug it until it doesn't move anymore. Okay? When it does that, the resistance of each half knot makes it solid. So you can cut it really, really short. Okay, and then what you can do now is loosen it up. Alright, now, then it says to knit 1, knit 2 together. What we're doing is slowly working our way back out again. So you want to knit 1, knit the 2 together. So you're going to knit your wrap and turn together. Starting with the peg you finished with, you're going to knit 2, knit 2 together. Then it says to knit 3, knit 2 together, and so you knit 3, knit 2 together, knit 4, knit 2 together, knit 5, knit 2 together, knit 6, knit 2 together, knit 7, knit 2 together, knit 8, knit 2 together, knit 9, knit 2 together, knit 10, knit 2 together, knit 11, knit 2 together. Then it's going to tell you to change to white. And you're fixing to do color chunking, so do not cut your gray yarn. So what I want you to do is get to the point where you knit 11 and you knit 2 together, which means you should be stopping over here. Okay? Pause the video, get to over here, slowly adding in your wrap and turns. Alright? So go ahead and pause the video and get that much done. And when we come back, we'll be starting on the next section. Okay? So, pause the video, add those wraps and turns back in slowly, and when you come back, we should be over here. Okay, this is what it should look like. Here's the bottom half of your nose. Here's the top half of your nose. Okay? So, what it says now is to change color to white and knit 12. Okay, I'm not going to cut the white because my next thing is color chunking, and I'm going to explain that. This is what makes this so complicated. There's a lot to keep up with. Okay, so I'm going to half knot and then completely knot. All right, now I'm going to grab that white and we're going to knit the rest of the way around. Okay. Make sure your other color stays out of the way. Alrighty, now, here we are. Back at square one. Okay. So, now it says rows 3 through 32. Alright. So, 30 rows. You're going to do 30 rows of color chunking. Alright. So, I need to get us back to square one. So what I want to do, pick up that gray and knit it back over. Okay. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to knit this back over. So I'm going to add that back into the So when it comes to color chunking, you do the same method every time. You figure out which color you want to go under and over, and it's the same color that goes under and over every row. Okay. So I think what I'll do is I'll go under and let's see how I do this. Okay. So I'm going to go under and over with my gray, okay? And what that does is it creates a cross. And what that's going to do is keep the colors together, okay, without doing a whole bunch of gapping. So I'm going to knit my gray over, all right, which is 12. So I'm going to knit 12 stitches over. And then what I do is I push down and go back the direction I came. Then I pick up my white and I knit my way around. Okay. And when I finish the white section, I will have a single row. Okay. So when I finish this white section, I'll have row 1. When I get back around, I will have row 2. So I'm going to shut that down. Then I want my gray to go under. As you can see, gray goes under and over. When it does that, you'll notice it doesn't have much of a cross going on again. Alright, so gray is always going to be the first color I work with. So I knit for 12 all the way around. Then I go back the direction I came and pick up my white and knit my way around. When I get to the other side, that'll count as row 2. This is a great technique to use if you're needing a belly color to be something different. Okay, lots of techniques in here. Short rowing, color chunking. Okay, so again, your gray goes under and over. Okay, and then you start again. All right. This, when you get back here, counts as 1. When you get back to your starting point over here, counts as row 2. All right, so we've already done 2 rows, and you want to do a total of 30 rows. So go ahead and pause the video and complete your 30 rows of color chunking. And when we come back, we will be splitting in half our work. So 1/2 gray, 1/2 white. And we'll be sewing at the sides, okay? So, go ahead, pause the video, complete your 30 rows. When we come back, we'll be ready to get started on the next section. Okay, so I have done my 30 rows, and this should be what it looks like. All right. If you are used to Kitchener cast on, you can go ahead and tighten this up. I'm going to try to do that a little later. Okay, so what we've done is we have completed rows 3 through 32. Next is row 33. And it says you're going to work the white section only. You're going to decrease on both ends of the white section, and you're going to knit everything together. So you're going to take and you're going to decrease this over. You're going to go around to the other white section, and you're going to decrease it over. Okay. And it'll be a little tight at first, okay? You could wait and get over there and decrease, but sometimes you can forget. Let me pull this up a little bit. All right. So what you want to do is you want to decrease on both ends of the white section and knit 2 together, and then knit the middle. And then you can knit the 2 stitches together. Okay. They should start to loosen up now that you're just working in this section. Then it says you're going to knit your way back. Now, keep in mind that this is going to work the same on the gray side. So once you finish the white section, you're going to do the same thing on the gray section, okay? And it's just going to work exactly the same. All right, so you're going to knit your way back, okay? So it says to knit your way back. So we're on row 34. And then on row 35, it says to decrease again. So you're going to decrease on both sides. And this one should work a lot easier. Once you get started, it moves a lot easier. Okay? So, at this point, you're going to knit your way over and then knit back, okay? So I'm going to show you this patterning one more time, because keep in mind you're going to be doing the same thing on the gray side. All right. You're going to be getting it down to a total of 4 stitches. Okay, so you're going to knit your way over, knit the 2 stitches together. Okay, so 1 row is decreased, 1 row is knit. Alright, then I'm just going to knit my way over. So your second row is always knit. Your first row is decrease the ends. Okay, so we're going to decrease again. And you're going to keep doing this until you are down to 4 stitches. Okay. Alright, so go ahead and pause the video, get both sides down to 4 stitches. Okay, so you get your white side down to 4 stitches, then you come over here and you start your gray side down to 4 stitches. Okay, just like we did over here. Same thing over here, you're just switching the other half. Okay, so when we come back, we'll be ready to start the next section. Okay, now if you would like to go ahead and see more of what your shark is looking like here up top, first you want to find your cast on tail, which is right here. Alright, what you want to do is you want to go to the opposite side. Alright, and you want to find your first stitch to pull, and you just want to gently tug until you find it. Alright, and you're going to go to the next stitch, and you're going to gently tug, and what you're going to keep in mind is when you tug, you're going to go to the top, bottom, top, bottom. It's kind of like a heartbeat or a mountain where you go to the peak, and then you're going to come to the next section, and you're going to go and you're going to pull from the valley. You're going to go to the top, the next section, then you're going to find the next one and you're going to pull it. Now I want you to keep something in mind. Don't just start yanking and all that. You want to gently tug to make sure that you know exactly that you have the right one. Because these things are kind of loose, they can get intermingled. But you can see that there's a smooth transition going on here, okay? There might be a small hole that you have to close up, but there's no real sewing involved, okay? So when you do a light tug, you know what you're pulling, okay? And you hope you find it. Now sometimes they can get interchanged and you lose track, okay? And it does happen. Alright. Now, I'm going to find my next one to pull. Okay, so I'm going to pull it through. Then I'm going to find my next one now. I'm going to do this all the way over so that you can see what is happening. This is a good project to start learning this kind of technique because it's small. Okay, so when you pull on it, you barely notice the transition at all. Alright, that's the benefit of it. Alright. Now you could do a regular cast on, but you'd have a seam at the underside of the body, and if you don't care about having that seam, then you can just do it that way. Okay, so that one would have been mixed up. I would have had fun finding that one, but because I knew where it was, I knew to pull it. Okay, then I'm experienced with this. Alright, so you find the next one, and you just keep remembering it's up and down, up and down. So right now I'm pulling from the top. I'm going to move this over, and the next one's going to be pulled from the bottom. Now it gets more and more important to do a very light tug the closer you get to the other side. Okay. And the reason being is you can create a knot and you can't get this all the way through. Okay. Because it does get a little trickier over here. Okay. So we're going to do a light tug. Okay, that's the right one. I'm just going to tug from the bottom. You want to be specific with that, and the more you get over to the other side, the more important it's going to be. Alright, so tug a little. Okay, that's obviously the right one. It's from the top. So we're going to be pulling from the top. This is where it gets more and more complicated. Okay, cross that over. Now, question is what's going to be pulling along. That looks like that's it right there. Okay. And the larger the gauge loom you're using, the easier this is going to be. Alright, and it looks like we should be able to just pull the tail. And there you have it. Okay, and just pull the tail. And that finishes you off. And look at that. It's smooth, you can't tell it. Okay, so you will have to close up that small hole there, but that's nothing when you think about everything. Okay, so there you have a nice point, and you have a smooth transition here where you don't even notice it. Okay, and that is really helpful. That is how you tighten up your cast on. Alright, so go ahead and pause the video, decrease yourself down to 4 stitches here, decrease yourself down to 4 stitches here. When we come back, we'll be ready to start the next section. Okay, so I've just decreased everything down to 4 stitches on this side and this side. Now, when reading the pattern, it says that you need to bind off the white side, alright, and it's a standard bind off, nothing special. So you need to take the second stitch back, toss bottom loop over, move that over. So there's nothing special there. But now with the gray side is where we're going to work on that back tail fin, and that's where we're going to be doing increasing dramatically and be doing some dramatic stuff on that side. Okay, so I'm going to explain how that looks. Okay, and I've already cut my yarn, and I'm just going to pull that through. Alright, so there's my tail section. Now I'm going to come up to the gray side. Alright, now on the gray side we're on row 41, and what it says to do is to knit 4 and then increase 2. So let me get my yarn situation. Okay, so what that means, knit 4, increase 2. I'm going to show you, and then I'm going to tell you to pause the video and get that much done. So knit 4, increase 2, wrap, wrap. Alright, then it says to knit 6. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Increase 2. 1, 2. Okay. Then it says to do knit 8, increase 2, knit 10, increase 2, and then knit 12, increase 2, 14, increase 2. So that should end you with 16 stitches total. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to pause the video and get your increases done, and then we'll be ready to start rows 47 through 52. And it's actually pretty self-explanatory. It's a knit, right? So I've knitted my way over, and I'm going to increase 2, and you're getting your increase up to 16 stitches, if you're wondering what you're up to. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and complete your increasing, and when we come back we'll be ready to show you the next step, which is rows 47 through 52. If you feel comfortable, you can go ahead and knit those rows. That's probably about 6 rows. Yeah, that's 6 rows. So if you're comfortable with after you increase to 16 and then working 6 rows back and forth, you can skip the next little section I'll film and go directly to the decreasing section, which is row 53. Alright, so pause the video, get your increase done to 16 stitches, come back and we'll show you what rows 47 through 52 should look like. Okay, so I have done my increase out. I have my 16 stitches, as you can see. And what I want to do now is just knit back and forth for 6 rows. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is just knit back and forth over the 16 stitches for 6 rows, and then I'll come back and I'll start doing the decreasing. Okay, so what you want to do is pause the video, complete your 6 rows, and then when we come back we'll be ready to start the next section. Okay, so pause the video and get that much done. Okay, so now I've done my 6 rows and I'm ready for row 53. And what I'm going to be doing is, it says to take and decrease and knit 2 together, and then it says to knit 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then you're going to decrease the end again. So you'll see these decrease on the ends, okay, like this. So what you're going to do is you're going to decrease on the ends, just like that. Okay. You're going to decrease on the ends, you're going to knit the 2 together, and then you're going to knit all the stitches in between. Okay. And you're going to decrease on the ends every single row. Okay. Let me pull that up a little so you can see better. Alright. So you're going to decrease on the ends until you're down to 4 stitches. Okay. Alright. And then what you want to do is you want to decrease on the end, just like that. Come here and decrease down here. Oops. And then you're just going to go in and knit the 2 stitches together. And then knit your way around. Okay. And you're going to continue to do this decreasing on the ends every single row until you are down to 4 stitches. Okay. And then we'll be ready to do row 59, which is pretty self-explanatory. We aren't quite done yet. We'll be really close to done with the body here soon. Okay. So go ahead and pause the video and complete your decreasing until you're down to 4 total stitches, and then we'll be ready to come back and do row 59. So go ahead and pause the video and get that much done, and we'll be finishing up this body here real shortly. Okay, so as you can see, I'm down to 4 stitches here. Alright, now what row 59 says to do is to knit. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just knit the row. Okay, then it says that you need to bring the original loops back before the increase, which is on row 40. Alright, and you'll know this because you start seeing your increases in here, so your 4 stitches should be here. Alright. Normally I would go ahead and I would mark my 4 stitches, and for some reason I forgot to show marking them, which is kind of silly of me. So your increases start here. So this is row 40 here. It's where you start seeing your increasing. Okay. And you're going to just add those stitches. That's not exactly exact science. It's get it as close as possible. But my suggestion would be to, if you are making this, make sure you mark row 40. Okay, then it says to just bind off, and you want to knit the 2 stitches together. And when you finish this bind off, you want to cut a long tail, because this is going to be sewing up the tail and doing all kinds of stuff like that, okay? And you're going to knit the 2 stitches together. And you're going to move that back one. This bottom loop over. Oops. I pulled one of those before in a while. And cut me a fairly long tail. And then I'm just going to pull this through. Alrighty. So, what have you got here? You got your shark head over here, you got your tail. Now, what you want to do, okay, is I would suggest taking your tail and going in and finding the very edge as much as possible. Sew up the sides of the fin and come back down and go across, sew up the sides of the fin. Then I would suggest at least sewing up 1/2 of this, stuffing. You can start stuffing if you would like, and then sew up 1/2 and finish stuffing, and then sew up the other half, okay? So at this point, this is just, it's sewing. You want to sew up your fin, and then if you want, go ahead and stuff, and then sew up half the fin and half the back end of the body so that you can finish doing the stuffing, okay? So that finishes up the body portion of this. Alright, next we need to do the fin, and you want to make 4 of these, okay? So this is going to be 4 of them, and what it says to do is you're going to work over 8 pegs. You're going to be working flat, you're going to be working with your gray, and you want to draw a string, cast on 8 pegs flat. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you're going to work your way back. Okay, now what it says to do is you want to knit for 6 rows. Okay, so you'll knit back and forth for 6 rows. So go ahead and pause the video and knit for 6 rows, and then when we come back, we'll be ready to do the next section of the fin. Okay, so pause the video, get your 6 rows done, and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, I'm in my 6 rows, and now what it says to do for rows 7 and 8, it is knit 6. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Start the peg you finished with, and knit back 6. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then for rows 9 and 10, it says to knit 4. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then knit 4 back. Okay, starting with the peg you finished with. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then for rows 11 and 12, it says to knit 2. So 1, 2, and 1, 2. Then it says to knit 4 for 2 rows. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it says to knit 6 for 2 rows. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're going to go back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you're back to just knitting all the pegs for a total of 6 rows. Alright. So here's 1, 2. So here's row 1. And here's row 2. Okay, so 6 rows of knitting 8. Pause the video, get that much done, and then we will be ready to start the next section. Now I want you to keep in mind it says drawstring bind off, but what you're doing is you're just lining the stitches up, okay? So pause the video and get your 6 rows done, and we'll come back and finish up the fin. Okay, the next thing it says to do is to do a drawstring bind off. Cut you a little bit of a tail because you're going to sew with it. And you're not going to do like a real tight drawstring. You're just going to basically be drawstringing it to a point where the stitches are all actually I can't do it that way. Sorry, it's because I can't drawstring like that. Okay, start with the peg you finished with, pull through, and instead of drawstringing it down, what you're going to do is you're just going to pull it to where all the stitches line side by side, and I'll show you what that means. While you're taking them off, it may drawstring a little more, but it'll make sense here in just a second. And you're going to end up making 4 of these. Okay. So, pull those out. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to pull this where all the stitches line up straight like that. Okay, you need to. Okay, but you want those stitches to line up straight, just like that. So all you're doing is you're pulling your drawstring to where the stitches line up straight. Okay. Right, and then what you want to do is you want to fold it in half. see it like this, you want to fold it in half. Okay, and you want to sew down all sides. So you want to sew down here, and you want to sew down here, and sew up here. Okay, and that is what your fin should look like. You want to make 4 of those. So follow this process. You can do a regular bind off if you like. If you think that this method isn't looking quite right, you can do that method as well. Entirely up to you. Alright, but you want to make 4 of these. Alright, so go ahead and pause the video and complete your 4, and then we'll be ready to assemble everything on the shark. Okay. Okay, I'm going to show how I sew up my fin. As you can see, I've made all 4. So I'm going to show how you do this. I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to send it through and sew up this side first. This is how I always tend to do it. And then I send the needle down through. Okay. Now I want to sew up my side. Okay. And I'm going to send it through. The stitches themselves. Down the side. Alright, and I'm going to shove that tail from my cast on into the middle. And then I'm going to sew up the sides. And I leave that attached because that's going to allow me to sew it onto the body. Okay. Now, I have, of course, closed up my Kitchener. I have sewn up my tail fin. I've sewn up the top and down the side. That should allow me plenty of room to stuff my shark. Okay, at this point, if you are going to put safety eyes in, you want to do so now. And I would suggest it at the connecting points. You'll see probably a little hole there, and that's a good place to put your eyes. Okay, and you'll want to snap those in. Okay. And then you'll want to stuff the shark. So you want to stuff it, and then you'll sew that up. And then we'll be ready to sew our fins on, and I'm going to do a little eye cinching and shaping on the face so that it looks more shark-like. Okay. So go ahead and pause the video, add your eyes if you're going to add them, and stuff, and then sew up the other side. When we come back, we will be ready to start adding all our fins on everywhere, okay? So pause the video and get that much done, and we'll come back and finish this up. Okay, so I have stuffed my shark and finished sewing up the side, and I have sewn on my side fins a little bit in front of the halfway point. Let me see if I can pull that up a little in front of the halfway point, but probably about an inch past the eyes. But if you're doing this in a different gauge, it might set up different, but you're wanting to get a little bit on the front of the body, but not all the way to where your eyes are going to be, because I'm going to be putting my eyes right in here. Okay, so I sewed these on right at the connection point of the two colors, so it made it a little easier, and then you eyeball it to make sure that it's even on both sides. So definitely want to sew those on first. The next thing you want to do is try to line it up to the top center and to the other fins so that they're all lined up. So that one lines up with this one and this one. And then you gotta find your center point, and you just follow the tip up, okay? And that should give you your center point. Once you find your column, then you can just go in and sew it up, okay? And I just send it through. You want to make sure that your slant goes in the right direction. So your slant should go out, and the slant should go out and out. And when you sew on your back one, you're going to line up the center of the tail, and your slant is going to go up and the straight part back, okay? So go ahead and pause the video and get your fins sewn on, okay? And then I will show you how to cinch the eye area so you have some more definition. And I'm probably going to hot glue in some rhinestones for eyes, personally. But I'm going to show you how to go about doing that. Okay. So go ahead and pause the video and sew your fins on. And then we should be getting close to about done. I've got a finishing touch to show you how to do, and then we should be done with the shark, okay? So pause the video and finish sewing on your fins, and then we can move along to do the eyeballs area. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. So as you can see, I have sewn on my fins, and the shark is basically done, but I'm going to cinch my eye area in, and this is just the strand that I use to sew up my back end. And usually you just keep a strand of the yarn that's already attached so that you can just use it for this, okay? So I'm going to send this through to the opposite side, okay? And this section's very difficult to show, so I'll do it the best I can. So you're going to kind of pull that, okay? And then you're going to send that through and back to the other side again. Okay. And I'm going to be putting pearl white black rhinestones in here. Okay, I'm going to send it back through. Now, if you put in eyes before, what you'll want to do is you'll want to cinch the upper and lower part of the eye in just like this, doing this very same thing, and then you should have it. Okay, so I'm going to put a black rhinestone in here, and I'll be inserted more rather than sticking straight out, and so it'll sit more flush like a eye should. to send that through and cut it. And then glue in my rhinestone black eye. And it's something that I would suggest buying is the pearl black rhinestones. And they work really good for eyeballs, and so I'm just going to hot glue those in there, and because they'll sit more flush with the body, it'll be more realistic to the shark. Okay, but otherwise that is how you make a shark.